Welcome to Industry Game.
All right, we're live. We're live on the pod. Mick, I appreciate you coming out.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome. So if you want to just give a little high-level overview, like a minute overview of who you are, what you do, so the audience knows, and then we'll just dive back into the beginning and share your story.
Sure. Well, my name's Mick, as you said. I'm a bunch of things, really. Like, my life evolved into like a kind of multi-hyphenate career before. Like now, like people say multi-hyphenate all the time, or they say, oh, portfolio career, which is like the new phrase of the new version of the multi-hyphenate.
Right.
I kind of was doing that the whole time in my life and my career without knowing it. And I'm a DJ first and foremost, which is really cool because when I started, like DJing wasn't cool. DJing was like, it was a fun job. It got you maybe friends and it got you girls, but it didn't get you like business experience. It didn't get you opportunity. It didn't get you access. And I've stayed in it so long that like the whole thing is kind of completely flipped where DJing will get you intros. I mean, at least I'm fortunate the world that I get to DJ in now,
Right.
that I'm privileged to be part of. I have access to like almost anything I would ever want because of my ability to make people happy. And when I started, it wasn't like that. But through that journey of the nothing to the something, that's led to so many opportunities, from investing to advising to parenting to just like helping other people, express their creativity. And there's just so many things that have come from me following my passion that would have never been possible if I didn't stay the course. So I'm very grateful that, because everybody wanted me to give up on this. Like my family, like, oh, you can't, and it's not their fault. This was not a viable career path 30 years ago. I'm 47. I'm about to be 48. This was not there weren't like examples of how to grow and do this, right? Mm-hmm. If you were a DJ in your 40s in the 90s, you were doing weddings and bar mitzvahs and strip clubs. Right. There wasn't anything like, we're the first generation of like working class, business class DJs that have kind of figured it out. And so I'm grateful for that.
Awesome. And where did your DJing career begin?
That's a great question. It was the genesis of a bunch of things. Like, I grew up loving all sorts of music. When you grow up and like you kind of come of age in the late 80s, early 90s, mid 90s, it was a really interesting, fascinating time for music. All the artists that were icons then are still icons now. So whether it was Nirvana and Chili Peppers and stuff like that, or it was Michael Jackson's at his prime, or it was just like, Biggie and Tupac.
There was an intersection of like a ton of
all of this
artists.
stuff that was like the peak of pop culture at the time in any genre. You could still play all those albums now for anybody ranging from 20 to 60, and they all still resonate. There's probably never been another time in music history where that has happened, like where it was fascinating. So
where they're all still so relevant.
Yeah. Because I mean, you could go back and you could think about like disco stuff or like that stuff was awesome, and like some of those songs, but like they're not like, you put it on if you want to hear like a disco song like in your car on a road trip,
right?
But if you're listening to like Drake or Kendrick or J. Cole and like a Biggie or Tupac song came on your algorithm, you wouldn't be like, oh wow, it doesn't feel like you went back 30 years.
Right. You just keep playing.
You're just like, oh, this is dope. I like it. And then you'll hear another song from like a Kendrick and he'll reference a Tupac line. And you're just, it's just still all feels very, of the time. And that happened with all sorts of music. And that's why you still see like guys from like those iconic 90s groups still doing things today. And so I say that to say music was just it was a very special time, and I had a lot of lucky things happen. And I was lucky to come of age in that era and I was also lucky to come of age right before social and right before the internet. So I was able to experience it in a much more just super holistic, super organic way, which made me fall in love with it even more. And it made me have to put in my Malcolm Gladwell 10,000 hours. I probably put in 20,000 hours, like learning the music. I used to play drums, I played piano, and I did all of these things.
So you've always been into music growing up?
Yeah, but I just it was just a hobby that I just realized I had a talent for. And, again, I'm so grateful that I was inspired by, if I grew up in the 20s, dude, and they only played, my wife and I watched this video last night. It was like the best album of every year since like 1920 until today. And from 1920 to 1945, it was like the same fucking thing. It was like Gershwin. Like that dude, I don't know how he had all these fucking albums, but like, can I cuss on this?
Yeah, you can say whatever you want.
And so and then when you get to the 90s,
there's no rules
it's just
on this
like,
podcast.
Okay, all right, cool, just making sure.
Yeah.
Just when you get to the 90s, or like, it was just like all this other stuff, like we were just saying. And so like, if I was born in a different era, I wouldn't have been inspired by 5 or 6 genres of music that really were at their peak of their form. And I think about how that inspired me. And then I think about how I was able to consume it. And then I think about how I was playing instruments at the time. And then and I put that all like in a jar, right? And that made me like the DJ person that I became, because I was enjoying music of all genres. I was enjoying curating like playlists of different things. And I didn't realize, because again, if the music sucked, this doesn't happen for me. But thankfully the music was fucking awesome. And that made me think like a DJ, like really early. I didn't know I was thinking like that. And then when I went to college in the summer of 96, which again, right now the internet is just starting, right? Just to like date myself and make myself look really old. But now I get to be the beneficiary of that. So I moved to college. I completely like rebrand myself from high school band nerd to cool college guy that walks in with 2 turntables and a crate of records. It was like mind blowing to people. So I learned a lot about marketing from that. I taught myself how to DJ.
And when you're going into college, did you have any DJ experience prior in high school?
No, it didn't even exist where I lived. Like I bought 2 turntables the summer before college.
And you were like, I'm going to figure this out.
I had a Jordan rookie card that I sold, and I flipped it for like $500, which was worth a lot more now.
Which is probably worth like 500 grand now.
But my card was fucked up though, because I like, you know, I like, you play with your cards, play with your toys, wear your shoes, you know. It was a good RI. And I flipped it, bought 2 used Technique 1200s, and went into college because I didn't want to be, you can't bring a drum set into a dorm room. The dorm room is half the size of this fucking coffee table. And you just be a real dick. And I just didn't want to get my, you know, and but what I didn't realize was like, you know, and this has taught me so much about like perception and marketing and I didn't know it at the time, but I was just like, I was a nerdy kid in high school. I was an overweight kid in high school. I had a job at my family's drugstore where everybody else had like cool jobs. My grandpa would make me jump in the dumpster to save money on his trash bills because and you have a family business, like you get it. Like
you got to do whatever
you got to do what it takes. And when you work for family, they will knock you down a few pegs in order to make you really like appreciate what they did. And so, you know, when my friends would leave middle school and high school, they would see me jumping in a dumpster so my grandpa could get that shit unloaded once a week and not twice a week and save a couple $100. That does not help you get a hot prom date when the girl you want to ask out sees you jumping in a blue cube. You know what I mean? So, you know, you take that version of me and then you flip it over to summer. And now I go to college without any of that baggage. And it was my first ever rebrand. And I had 2 turntables. And you know, if you can drum, you can DJ. That's why you see like the Questloves of the world and all that and make that transition really well. And it was just kind of like on from there.
And then, all right, so then you get to college, and how do you start DJing? Are you doing like, are you practicing in the dorms? Are you getting into like bars? Like walk us through how you started getting some traction. Because I think that my whole mission with the pod is to kind of share some game in all genres of business of like, how does that kid who's in high school right now that was a drummer that wants to DJ start? Well, here's the thing.
The first thing I would say is you have to never overlook where any possible opportunity could come from. This was true in 96 when the world was very different. It's definitely true now. Now a kid's going to walk in a dorm room and there's going to be 30 DJs on his floor. Right. It's a different world. I was 1, maybe 2 in the whole school. But I got lucky because I had a passion for it, and I shared my passion with my new friends. And I got actually lucky because and I'll shout him out, my friend Ilche, who I'm going to send this pod to him.
Shout out Ilche.
Still good friends to this day. He was my RA. He was a huge 90s hip hop head, and he was a couple years older than me. And he was like, wait, all these like dorky kids are moving into the dorm. I have to be in charge of all these kids. Yeah. But this guy got records, you know? He's like, oh, he has like rock chem records. I have rock. He had like 1 record in his dorm room, and we became friends. And he took a liking to me, right? And he said, hey, like, I'm gonna enable you to, like, you just never know where like these little opportunities can come from. And he was just like, I'm going to let you like come to the dorms early when everyone can't come in after break. I'm going to let you play music late. I'm not going to write you up. He walked me to the college radio station and introduced me to them. And I ended up getting a show, which is really how my career started. So he was
a critical guy.
Yeah. He's awesome. He's just one of the greatest people. But like he was, and I'm sure he did this for other people in different ways. Yeah. But you don't know, I didn't know, again, you don't know these things are happening.
You didn't know your RA.
And you have to take the opportunity too. People could show you these opportunities. Then I had to do my part of the work. I had to wake up at 5 a.m. on Sundays so I could do a radio show at 6 a.m. for 30 minutes that nobody listened to. Right. But you have to do it.
Right.
And then that led to doing like a show that was like Wednesday nights. And then that led to a show that was Friday nights. And if you're doing a hip hop show in the late 90s on Friday night, you're killing it. And then that led to me being on commercial radio. That led to me doing every club and every party and every event in Cleveland where I'm from. Then that led to me DJing for the Cavs. That led, I was one of the first ever NBA DJs. That led to a great relationship with LeBron and his people that really helped escalate my whole life. But we can get into that. But like, it all started because I was, I took that first step to be that guy in the dorm room. And then when life gives you opportunities, you have to take them, and you have to take the ones you don't want. I could have been like, dude, I have amazing music taste and I'm a pretty good DJ. I deserve a real show. I'm not doing this wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning bullshit.
How important is it to put your ego aside in a time like that?
I'd be selling insurance in Ohio right now if I didn't do that. You just have to do it. You have to pay your dues and you have to realize your place. And I still do that now to this day. I still show up at stuff all the time just because I want to do it for the art, or I want to just like support stuff. Like, I don't need everything to be like this budget, this thing. Like, I still love what I do with a deep passion, especially if I'm playing stuff that really connects with me. And you can't lose that.
Yeah. And before we put a bow on like the college experience, when you're starting out in any craft, if you were a kid, 18 to 20 years old, getting into DJing, like what would you say is like one thing that you'd recommend them doing to just get the ball rolling? You know what I mean? Because I feel like sometimes the hardest part is starting.
Two things. DJing has never been easier from a technical standpoint.
Right.
It's nice. I like showing up with my laptop or sometimes a flash drive and just like making it really easy. I could travel, do whatever I want. So we don't have to worry about that so much. I would say like you got to know and love and appreciate music.
You need to know good
and
music.
Try to know as much about music as you can. Don't just become a DJ because you want to play the 20 songs that you love in your favorite genre, right? Because that's cool. And you could do that but like if you really want to grow in it, you have to understand all genres of music. Not niche shit. You don't have to know like your polka, but like, you just like
you
know
got to be able to
stuff.
tap into everybody.
Know the history.
Yes.
Area. Know the history of what it is that you love. And then know the history of why those people made what they love. So like if you love house, make sure you know 90s house too. Make sure you then take those records and figure out what disco records they sampled to make those 90s house records. Now you have a whole full circle breadth of knowledge. And then that disco record, you're going to say, oh, well, that's also the record that Kanye or Dilla used on this 2000s hip hop record with Pharrell. And then you're going to go down that and you'll just explore and explore and explore. And then before you know it, you have this wide swath of knowledge across all genres of music. And the more you know about different, it's kind of like cross training for sports.
Yeah.
That's why like basketball players are doing like yoga in the summers and doing other stuff. They're not just like practicing free throws, because the more you could learn like parallel paths, the better you can be at your path.
Okay. And then, so after college, so in college, you get into doing parties, bars. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And then after that,
Sorry, I keep bumping this
when
way.
you leave school, when's your decision? Do you make a decision where you go all in on DJing?
No.
And what was that moment?
That's a great question. So like nobody ever asked me that. I didn't know what the fuck to do. So
and what point is this at? Right after college?
I
you didn't know what to-
graduated in 2000. DJing was going well. Like I was making a couple $100 a week DJing, which is like in 2000 when you're 22, you're killing it.
Yeah.
And I was on commercial radio at the time making no money. Like they didn't pay you. They'd be like, come be on our station and we'll give you like $20. I'm like, okay. College radio obviously doesn't pay. So like I'm at a point now where like I can't grow a career. I didn't think growing a career was possible, but it was going well enough that I was like, and the job market was really not good. And this is like year 2000, like think like 9/11 was what, like 2001, or like it was just like, or it was right around then too. So like everything was like, it was just a weird time in like business and like life. And also I was not inspired. I had a marketing degree. I thought that the marketing jobs that were available, first of all, nobody offered me a job. So I tried to get a job. I couldn't get a job that I wanted. So blessing in disguise, ultimately. But also the jobs that were available, I just know me. I'm sure like my wife sitting over there, she knows me better than I know me. She's like, I know you're not going to, like, she just, like, I move. I just have to move in like the way my brain works. It works in a really unique way. And the marketing jobs that I saw in 2000, 2001 were like selling tires or like, it
wasn't true to you.
It wasn't like, I mean, again, if I had a family at that time or something, which would have been weird for a 22-year-old, like you do what you got to do. But I just was not, it wasn't anything that made me feel creative or made me feel like inspired. And so I just said, I'm going to keep DJing. And I kind of just punted the ball down the field and I went to grad school. And I did it for two reasons. I 3 reasons. I went, one, it's like, it's never bad to be smarter.
Right.
But also I was just like, I could keep doing my college radio show if I stay doing my, at this school. And then I was like, if I do it for 3 or 4 years, I could pay for it and I never have to take out a loan. So I was just like, let me do that and see what happens with the DJing thing. When that's done, I will either like go this way or go that way. At some point I'll decide. And I got really lucky because a lot for me happened between 2001 and 04, 05. Like,
And what happened within that
well,
time?
I just, first of all, a lot of things. My career just kept growing and growing. The internet became more and more popular. My mixtapes then started going on like websites and going viral and things like that. Because now we're in like the mid 2000s, right? It's like you could create a brand for yourself and get it out there without having to be in a print magazine or have a publicist. You could create content.
So at that time,
it was content creating, but we weren't calling it then.
So at that time, are you outside of like being in grad school? Are you like grinding it out like during the day? Are you doing outreach, booking gigs? What does that grind process look like?
I'm my own manager my entire life.
Okay.
To this day, like I've taken like 1 month off every 10 years and try it with somebody else, and it just doesn't work like that for me. Like my 9 to 5, and I try to explain this to my son.
Nobody will care
10.
more about what you're doing than you.
Right. Like there was a point where my kid was like, "You work 4 hours a week," and I'm like, "Bro, like." Let me really explain to you how this works. Like when I'm sitting and you're playing your fucking PlayStation and I'm on the laptop next to you all day, that's work.
Yeah.
Showing up on your podcast is work. Talking nicely to the guy at the coffee shop next to me because like we had the same shoes on and he was cool. And like, you don't know that guy could be a creative director at a brand that needs music. Like you never know. Like when you're your own brand and you're your own boss and you're your own, like all these things, like you have to eat what you kill, but you can really get that from just kindness and relationships in the universe and all of those things. And my greatest opportunities have happened just because I'm me. They're not because of my talent per se. Like thankfully when I show up, I'm decent enough that people like the music and hire me again. But I'm getting hired because people like how I present myself. People like how I carry myself. People like how I show up for my family. People like the personal brand of me. If you look at my Instagram, it's just like, it's not just DJ shit. It's not just whatever. It's just like, I present myself exactly how my real life is, good, bad, or otherwise. But like the one thing that you see consistently is me showing up for clients, me showing up for my family, and me showing up for myself. And when you add all of that together, you know, a lot of people like that and they want to jump on board that train. And also some people don't. Like no one's going to book me for a cool, super fashionable 19-year-old fashion show. Like that's not going to happen. Like, and I get that. I'm a 47-year-old dad. Like, but the people who are supposed to find me, and I'm busier now than I've ever been in my entire career. And I think it's just because I've built like a personal brand that's like, it's over 100% authentic to who I am.
How important is having a personal brand today in the DJing space?
It's all you have. That's all you have. That's what it is. It's 99.9% of the job. It's not the music. You could go online and find everything I played at my set 2 days ago. Easy. Yeah. It's not hard. It's not like when I started where you had to go to like obscure record stores and, oh, do you have this record? No, you got to fucking fly to Tokyo to get that remix. Like that doesn't happen. So it's not about the music. And honestly, I think the audience is slightly less sophisticated with what they want to hear these days because of how we're trained with the algorithm, and people just want to hear like things for a flash versus like really like live with stuff.
Yeah. So on that point, I
got a lot of thoughts on that. But, but it's great because it enables me to like, again, stay relevant all these years later. But yeah, it's really like, it's your brand. It's do people identify with it? Do people rock with it? Do people want to, does it work? Like most of the events I do are in the brand space. Can my brand align with their brand? Yeah. And I try to be as diverse but authentic as I can so I could reach as many people that I can from a brand space. But also like sometimes I say no though. Sometimes people say, hey, can you do this for this? I'm like,
right. Doesn't make sense for
you know, that's gonna hurt me if I do that. You know, is the check amazing enough that I don't have to post it, and maybe like you stick me in the dark corner, we could maybe discuss it. But like you know, for the most part, like no,
because on that note, you could take a gig that might not align with your brand. That could potentially hurt you down the line if that is that what you're saying?
Yeah. And I don't want to do that first of all, like I've stayed true to my gut my whole career. And it's worked. And then I also have like a responsibility to my family and to like my kid and to like how I want to be, you know, he's in his weird phase now where him and his friends are like, they'll Google me on their little 5th grade Chromebooks in their school. I don't even know how to use a Chromebook, but like, and they'll find weird shit that I don't even know is online about me. Because if I'm Googling me, it's just like, oh, when did I do that party? So I could like reach out to it. Like he'll be like, did you know in 2012 you did? And I was just like, and he'll say some weird shit that I don't even know I did. And I'm like, huh? Or he's like, did you know you did a mixtape with so-and-so? Like, and I'm like, I have no recollection of this stuff.
Right.
I'm just doing stuff, and all that stuff like lives forever. And I don't ever want to be part of something that like
you don't align with.
Yeah, because it doesn't disappear.
No,
I'm not going to pay like some like, you know, fixer to go online and erase stuff.
Definitely. After college, you get your DJ, after grad school, you're DJing, you're getting some momentum. And then at what point do you realize that like, this is like, it's on, like you're full time at this and you're committed to it and you're burning the boats and heading in that direction?
Well, I finished grad school in 2005. Similar thing with the job market. It still wasn't great, but now DJing was going better. I was making more than a couple $100s a month, and it was going well. I was lucky, just like I was lucky for growing up in an era of music being very diverse in that content.
Yeah.
And then I was lucky that I kind of was like that first generation of an internet kid where I could, you know, market myself accordingly. I got the biggest lucky thing that happened in my career, and I made hard work out of that luck after the fact. But like when LeBron came to Cleveland, when he drove up 45 minutes from Akron to play for the Cavs, when those ping pong balls happened to come out that NBA draft lottery that day.
Oh, because he got drafted right when you left grad school.
This was all around the same time, right? And it was cool to like be the, you know, one of the bigger, if not the biggest DJ in Cleveland, Ohio at that time. But Cleveland, Ohio was Cleveland, Ohio. When LeBron came to Cleveland, Cleveland, Ohio was Cleveland, Ohio, but now we're in caps.
Cleveland, Ohio was popping then.
Like it was a whole new world. Like there was people. It wasn't just like the rich Cleveland people at the games. It was like Nike reps and Pepsi reps and Gatorade reps and MTV and BET and ESPN and all these people were there. And I was DJing at the games and I was doing all the parties. So now all these optics are on me that would have never been on me if that didn't happen. Now, by the way, this just didn't happen for me. This happened for hotels, restaurants. Those ecosystem stories that you hear of a transformational athlete, they're very true. And it changes cities and it changes states in some situations. And for us, it changed. I mean, I'm sure it changed the mayor's life, like all sorts of things, the airport, right? Like all sorts of shit probably made all sorts of advances because of that for me as well, you know? So I'm very fortunate. And so, but I took advantage of it in a, you know, authentic and like integrity filled way.
Did you have a big break during that time period where it was like you had this gig where you were like, wow, I'm DJing for this person or at this event? Or was there like an aha moment where you had that
came
moment?
via them, actually. Those guys always showed me, I'm just still their biggest fans to this day because they showed me so much love when I was starting and they were starting. And
the Cavs.
More so LeBron's people.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, the Cavs obviously let me be the DJ when LeBron got drafted because, you know, I did actually, it's the first time I ever made a pitch deck.
Yeah.
It was like on PowerPoint or some shit. I was just like, you can't keep playing the Hey song at this game when, like, if this dude doesn't come out and hear Jay-Z, he's going to lose his fucking mind. Like, so, like, please, like, take care of your franchise player. Let me come in and play music. They barely paid me, but, like, it was worth it.
So what was it like working with LeBron and LeBron's team when he came into Cleveland?
It changed my life. Like, everybody was figuring it out. It wasn't like now when you look at, and these guys are all, like, titans of industry, but like you could tell that they were special, and the team around him was very special too. And the thing that they did for me that changed my life, and I say this all the time, this was like the thing that really put my career in a different perspective, was they used to do these parties at All-Star Weekend, and they don't do them anymore, but now there's tons of parties just like it because they kind of set the tone for this, and they haven't done these in 10 or 15 years, but they did them for like 3 or 4 or 5 years. LeBron and Jay-Z used to do these dinners called Two Kings Dinner. And it was a dinner and it was a party. And I used to do all his parties at Cleveland at that time, or not, if not all of them, a lot of them. And they're like, you're going to come to All-Star and be part of this event. And I was already starting to get some All-Star gigs. I was doing like some sneaker stuff. And so I'm like, yeah, I want to do your event. And they were like, well, you can't DJ the party. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, I DJ parties all the time. What else would I DJ if I can't DJ the party? They're like, you need to DJ the dinner. And I'm like, I don't know what the fuck that means. Yeah. Like, what does DJing a dinner mean? I'm thinking of like a wedding.
Right.
I'm thinking of like, you know, when I'd done a wedding, I used to just play a mixtape while somebody was eating dinner. There wasn't Spotify then. And DJing at dinner sounded like the lamest shit I'd ever heard in my entire life, right? I'm like, well, who's doing the party? They're like, oh, we're gonna get like Flex, or we're gonna get like icons, like.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, okay, well, if I'm not gonna get it, like at least it's going to like my inspirations.
Right.
But I was still like, all right, like it just made no sense to me. So I walk into the dinner the first year, and it's just like NBA legends, rappers, leaders of banking, leaders of Google and tech and all this stuff. And all these people are just like sitting around chatting and drinking and having dinner. And I'm like, this is an amazing room. This isn't like 2 basketball players, 7 hot girls, a bartender, and you know, like all these dude groupies trying to get like these. Everybody in that room was like somebody any of us would want to like trade places with at any given time in life. And they're all in that room. And this is where like my music knowledge kind of comes in, right? And this is where my ability to like really figure it out. I was like, okay, what can I do to like make this room special musically? I'm not going to play the music I would play at 1 a.m. I'm not going to play the music I would play at even 12 or 11 at night. Let me subjugate my DJ ego and just let me use my like creative brain.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, all these Jay-Z people over there, let me just dig up every Jay-Z sample I ever had. I'm looking on my phone online, like, what music did Jay-Z listen to when he was a kid? Like, what did this guy is like the CEO of this bank. Did he ever done an interview where he said 5 songs he liked? I'm sorry, I keep hitting this microphone.
No worries.
And
A little forward towards you.
okay.
Perfect.
And I just talk a lot with I guess as a DJ, right?
Yeah,
So what we do, we speak with our hands. And so I'm just literally like trying to piece this together. Like, how can I tell a musical story without playing hits, without playing bangers?
That relates to all the people
That relates
that are
to
there.
them and keeps them energized, but also not giving them energy. You don't want to give them energy. They need to be able to talk. They need to be able to do these deals. They need to be able to communicate, but I need to be able to create this exact environment for them to do that. And I did it. And I was like, wow, this is like better than any party I've ever done.
Right.
And then so like the next year when they had it, I was like, can I do the dinner again?
Yeah.
And then I did it for like maybe 3 or 4 or 5 years. And that honestly just I learned so much about relationships. I made relationships in those rooms that changed the course of my life over all those years. And then those relationships led to so many opportunities of more relationships and more relationships. And it just taught me from a DJ perspective, wow, I don't have to be a guy that has to be out at 3 a.m. every night. I could be the guy I'll still do that.
Yeah.
But I want to be the guy that's like, how can I create musical value and creative value for clients, brands, whatever the case may be, in different ways. So some of this, the amount of things I've DJed in my life that historically would have never had a DJ, but like I created a correct vibe for it, have been like, is innumerable.
Yeah.
And it all started from like, again, but I could have said, fuck this, I don't want to do a dinner.
Yeah,
Or I could have phoned it in and said, oh, okay, you know what? I'm just going to play easy listening, like restaurant music.
Right,
like,
right.
No.
You took advantage of the
I was like, I
opportunity.
realized that this was a golden opportunity that may never happen to me again. And I was in a 1-of-1 situation. And, thankfully I had the creative skills and the musical bandwidth to pull it off, but it changed my life.
Yeah. So on my next note is, how important are relationships for you, and how important have they been since the start of all this? And when did
Everything.
you realize that like the relationship game is critical in all things business?
I just realized it because, like, again, I'd always managed myself. So even when I think about like when I was doing college radio, some of those college radio reps became mix show reps, then they became like brand managers at like lifestyle brands outside of music, and then they went to like Nike. So the guy who was nice when he wanted me to play a record on 5 a.m. on college radio in '97 might be the guy who was at Nike in 2003, and then that guy might be the guy that's had a brand agency in 2013. And you maintaining relationships, keeping it real with people, keeping it even keel, but always just like trying to reach out proactively, say hello, remember people's birthdays if you can, like just all the normal things that you're supposed to do, like in business. I've always tried to apply that to my career, and I'm not perfect at it, and I fuck it up all the time, but like overall, I think I'm doing better than 50% at it.
Yeah.
Because you just have to like treat people like humans, and that's how my career kind of flows.
Yeah, no, I always say the something that I've realized about relationships that's kind of like a little cheat code is like, I love the idea of like, when you see somebody post, hey, looking for a photographer for this, or looking for somebody for this, like if I ever see something pop up like that, where I know somebody that does the thing that they need, I get so much joy out of just bridging the gap, because
yeah.
I just like to be seen. Like, if you can provide that value to that person and on both sides, it's just like, forget about what they think. That gives me like an internal like win. You know what I mean?
Well, even if it doesn't
feels
work
good.
out, you're still helping somebody
just- yeah.
potentially get an opportunity, right?
Yeah, and I think that the idea of like looking at life through the lens of just like pumping out good stuff whenever you can, like, it doesn't require me any effort to connect you with so and so if you need a photographer. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But like my work,
I still get opportunities like literally last night I get a text like, hey, can I connect you with so and so? They're having an event. Like those things still happen for me all the time, which is somebody takes a low lift, but that could turn into a high reward opportunity for me. So like I definitely feel like you need to be able to do that back and forth. But also, I mean, it's very just kind. It's very biblical. However you want to look at it.
It's like holding the door
golden
for
rule. Like it's just do on like if you could do it, yeah, hold the door. Though you used to be surprised how many people don't fucking hold doors anymore.
Yeah, 100%. I also just think
Literally.
that the way of life is to like, the more good stuff you pump out, the better. You know what I mean? The better life you live. And I think the idea of like placing asymmetric bets throughout your life, and I'm not saying asymmetric bets is in like doing favors, but I'm just saying like pumping good shit out there. The probability of like luck happening is so much higher, because you're creating so much commotion around so much. And I think that that's something that I've always been interested in, because I love connecting with people. And that was sort of the reason I started this show to begin with, because I was like at this table and I was at the Super Bowl a couple of years ago, and I was like, damn, like I got to figure out a way to like maximize these figure out a way to like sit down and build more relationships with people that I find interesting, with like no ulterior motive. Like us sitting down, I just want to hear your story and chop it up. But then it's like, I can do a podcast and hit people up and then build relationships with people for fun. That's like, seems like such a cheat code, and that's why I've just been so stoked on it.
Well, I mean, it's awesome what you're building. I mean, think about it. Like, what's your worst case scenario is you make new friends and learn a bunch of shit. Your best case scenario is that you get like that Diary of the CEO deal where
pops
you
off.
know, you know, it's all wins.
But it's a win-win-win.
Yeah, it's a win-win.
And I think that was something that I was kind of struggling with before, because I've always enjoyed, like we were talking about before, I've always enjoyed like going to like cool events or dope, you know what I mean? Like being in like the culture of music and fashion and all that, and like attending that stuff. And now I get to like sit down and just chop it up with anyone, dude. And I think that's cool, because like I don't care if you own 100 tow trucks, I want to hear, how'd you do that?
Right.
And I think that that's kind of like something that's like a little cheat code that I've been stoked on.
Well, it's cool because now, you know, your version of my story is that you're now in an era where all these stories they're so different, but they're so similar. Entrepreneurship is like the new creative director, right? Like everybody is just like, it doesn't matter what you do. Mm-hmm. Like everybody has a really interesting entrepreneurial story. And, you know, I mean, and I'm sure it was this way for your family, from what you were telling me about your that business. My parents were entrepreneurs. Yeah. My grandpa was an entrepreneur. Nobody called them that.
Right.
They called them small business owners.
Yeah.
We were looked at as in our block like the people whose parents, they didn't have the cool real jobs. They weren't doctors. They weren't lawyers. They weren't like, my dad had a carpet and tile business. It failed. My grandpa had a pharmacy. It didn't fail. But like, you know, now we're like founders and fail fast. And like, if my dad's business failed today, people would be interviewing him on how did it fail?
Right.
What'd you learn? Like, what are you going to do next time? You know, like it happens in tech all the time. You know what happened for him? He had to go get a fucking job somewhere else.
Yeah.
You know, and then, you know, flip side was my grandpa's story worked out really well for him. But entrepreneur life was classifieds in the back of a magazine. That's what it was. Entrepreneur was literally the biggest time you'd see that word was in that magazine. Mm-hmm. It was always a guy who had a McDonald's franchise in Milwaukee or some shit on the cover. And then you'd open it up, and in the back where the classifieds would be like, tow truck company, shelf builder, flooring. Like, you know, you can buy this franchise and open, like that was the peak of creative business, unless you worked at a Fortune 100.
And now it's front and center.
Yeah. And that's what's so cool. Similar to how like DJing and creative stuff was like flipping 20, 30 years ago. The last 10 to 15 years has done that for entrepreneur culture. I'm very curious to see what the next version of that is in the next 15 years with AI and everything, because I think it's going to cannibalize some of that, but something new and exciting
Something
will open
else
up
is coming.
from that,
Yeah.
you know? And it's going to be a combination of both those things. It's going to be a combination of the creative world I came from as well as the entrepreneurial world. Whatever, you know, that coalescence is going to be whatever the next thing is.
Yep. And then in terms of like working with brands, and obviously I see you're traveling all over the place, you're working all over the world. Are there certain types of gigs that you prefer over others? And like, how do you, what is your stance on like working with some of the biggest brands in the world that you've worked with and DJing with some of the biggest celebrities and political figures? How does that change? How has your dynamic changed in terms of like managing all those relationships?
I mean, it's not too different than managing any other like relationships, because like I'm a pretty fully fledged grown adult at this point. So I like, and I'm like, I just relate to everybody on like a grown up human level.
Right. What I guess I mean is like, how do you manage like DJing for hip hop artists and then jumping in and doing like a big brand event with like,
to be honest, it's not that different. You just treat people normal. Like I like to like just tell everybody something like stupid about myself right when I meet them, just to like break the ice or whatever, or like, you know, use a bad word on a client Zoom, just like something to just like humanize everything and not be like, and if sometimes
it's not that deep,
it's not that serious. Like, I'm a nice person. I'm going to play good music. You're going to have a good event. I hope we can be friends after.
Exactly.
And I hope the wire hits too, you know, but it's just
exactly.
And honestly, that's just kind of how I build relationships. When like, you know, every summer, so we throw a little like barbecue at our house every summer, and it's just so funny because it'll be like my friends, my wife's friends, my son's friends, and their parents and whatever. But like when you look around the room, there's definitely people in that room that I've met because they've paid me. There's definitely people in that room that have like invested in my wife's company. But then there's also like my son's friends' parents, who one guy is like a painter and somebody else is like, it's just like, and everybody just is, and there's no division. There's not like, it's not weird. Like growing up, it would have been very weird to have something like that.
Right.
I just like, I want to have those sort of relationships with people. And I just try to honestly approach it. And it doesn't matter if you're an artist manager and you want me to do a party for your artist, or you work at Google, or you work at a hedge fund, or you work at a VC, like, we all kind of like, if you're, and again, maybe, and I'm another beneficiary of a cultural collapse, if you will, where it's like, there's never been, and actually this is important, there's never been a time in pop culture or culture where age gaps were so small, even if they're big. And by that, I don't mean that like, there's not a difference between a 20-year-old and a 50-year-old, because there is, but from a culture perspective, there's never been a time where it went, like, I'm 47, dude. I find pictures of when my parents were 47. They look old as shit.
Yeah, I can't believe
they
you're 40.
listen to.
I can't believe you're 47.
They listen to like, but it's not even. I don't even feel that's not even old. And so
No,
what's crazy is like, if I'm in my 40s and there's somebody who's 25 and there's somebody who's 35, we definitely still have something similar in our closet that we all wear. We definitely have some music that we listen to that's similar.
Totally.
Even if it's like I'm on the early end of an artist and they're on the late end of an artist, right? And we all have, from a fashion perspective, like it's not going to be the same, nor should it be, but there's going to be so many commonalities versus like where I grew up in the 90s. Like the difference between 70s and 90s were so different between like 99 and 2025, right? And so that enables me to relate to a 29-year-old brand exec as well as a 62-year-old brand exec, because there's just so much more common ground. And even if you remove fashion and music, like we watch the same movies, we watch the same shows. Like, it's just, we use the same apps on our phone. We're all addicted to the same bullshit.
So much more relatability.
It's much more relatability. And yes, it deviates in the fringes as it should. But, and obviously this is true with parenting, true. Like, I'm like, my son and I like so much of the same stuff.
Yeah.
And we're lucky because culture kind of evolved to the point that like, you know, we can do that. And think about, like, I mean, remove DJing and everything from this. Think about what that's going to do for, and that's just not my family, that's every family. Like, think about the closeness that my son and I will have through our whole life because we were able to bond on so many more things than my dad and I could bond on. And then think about what that's going to be for him one day with his kids. Like, it's just going to be so much more closeness and love. And there's just so many things that happen when culture merges.
Yeah, no, I feel like across the board, you're right. Like, there's so much, like, there's not the gap between a 20-year-old and a 50-year-old or a 20-year-old and a 40-year-old, like it's all blended now. And I feel like, especially within the culture, like you go to these events, like, I reached out to you because I'm a member at Boardroom, and I'm
okay.
like, I've connected with like,
They do amazing work. Rich is a legend.
yeah, he's a legend. I actually haven't been since being a member. I haven't been to any events since joining. I went to like the All-Star party in Vegas a couple years ago.
Okay.
And I had been to a few of his events prior, but unfortunately I haven't been to any events yet. But I tapped in with you. I reached out to you because you were DJing one of those events. And I'm just like, one thing I got to ask you is, how do you manage your schedule and family with all the travel and all the places you need to be? Because I think that's something you're all over the place, right?
The answer is my amazing wife right there. Like she holds everything together for all of us, like all the time. And to the other point, she's 12 years younger than me. So like she gets the, what do you call it? Like we were talking about the gap. I know I might be an old man to her, but she's like I think people don't know that we have like that big of a gap, right? And so like we relate really well on everything. And I'm able to like really soar because of her, because like she makes sure I'm always good. She makes sure my son's always good. She also is a founder and has her own company and does all sorts of amazing things, but she's also much more capable than me. So she could do all that, still help me, still help him. I can't. I wish I had that ability to multitask at her level. I don't. But honestly, like I have a very strong family foundation in my home, and it makes it very easy to do the things that I need to do because like I know that home's always good.
Yep.
I know that home's always safe. Home's always loved. I know my son's always loved and taken care of. And I know that when I walk in that house, even if I'm gone for 2 hours or I'm gone for 2 weeks, that I'm going to walk into a home full of like support and love and caring and compassion. And that is like a night and day experience for anybody trying to achieve success. If if you leave for the right reasons, because you need to provide, and then you come home for the right reasons because you just can't wait to be home.
Yeah.
All the other stuff just takes care of itself. And I owe her and my son everything for that.
Yeah. Love that. So with your schedule and travel, how often are you on the road?
Not as much as people would think. A couple times a month.
Yeah.
Like it could be once a week. It could be twice a week. It could be not anything for 3 weeks. And I do a lot of stuff like locally too.
Yeah. I saw you do some stuff at like the Cannes Film Festival?
Not Cannes Film. I did stuff at Cannes Festival like many years ago. I do a lot at Cannes Lions.
Okay.
Which, let me add another point to your thing you had mentioned earlier. We were talking about those dinners, right? That I was doing. Yeah. That made me realize that there's a whole other side of DJing that doesn't need to involve artists and clubs and the newest, coolest, cutting edge stuff, like, or whatever the case may be. Like, I was like, what brand stuff? So when what can I put myself in a situation where I can grow old gracefully in DJing and still put myself in positions where I could find other things to be part of. And I was lucky because culture and business, like we were talking about, kind of, collided, right? And now I'm in these rooms where like I actively seek out rooms where I can be creative, but meet amazing people and create value for them from an entertainment perspective at the same time. So like Cannes Film Festival is cool. But probably, I'm not young and fit and attractive enough to get booked for those Cannes Film Festival parties anymore. But I'll go to Cannes Lions where it's all people. But I found, the old expression, and it's corny. It's like find your tribe.
Yeah.
Like I found my tribe.
Right.
So when I'm around VC dudes and I'm around creative directors and I'm around advertising execs and I'm like,
that's your spot.
That's what I would have been if I didn't follow my dream. That's what my passion was. That's what my degrees were.
Yeah.
And I get to now be around all those people in a higher capacity than I probably would have been had I stayed on the traditional quote unquote path. And so when I'm playing music for those people, now I'm just like, I want to be the official soundtrack of all of your lives, all of your brands. And it's like people kind of like joke about it. Like, well, of course you're going to be there. It's like whatever. And I love it, man. Like I want to be, and I still get to do, thankfully, the other type of things as well. But like, if I could be in a party with those people and making them have fun, and then we all go have dinner later, and we just build those real life relationships, that leads to opportunities for me, opportunities for them, more work, play dates for my kid,
Yeah.
work connects for my wife, and then and then we're all on the flight going home having a good time. Like,
Yeah, I think that
it's
people.
just human being shit.
Yeah, no, I know. I feel like people overlook the value that you can create in relationships you can build at like events when you are providing some sort of value to, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that I've always enjoyed going to, like, I've went to Cannes Film Festival for the past 2 years. I don't work anywhere near film, right? But I've always been interested in going to those types of things, and now
Well, there's worse things than being in the south of France drinking.
Oh
Rosé
yeah,
all
no,
day.
I
You know,
well, I
you have a-
love
you have a rough life.
I love the south of France, but I'm saying I've always just been so curious, and I was like, wait, you're telling me I could just book a flight there, get a hotel, and then figure out my way into these events and meet all these people, and I just
But you took that step to do it.
yeah, like I booked the trip with my boy with no plans, and then it's like you get there and like everything falls into place, and I just can't emphasize enough that like putting yourself in the opportunity zone, you got to do it.
Make your own luck, man. That's the thing.
Yeah, so that brings me to my next point is like, how have you been able to create your own luck while building your career? And like, what's one thing that you'd pass on to the next generation in terms of putting themselves out there?
I say
Even when they
no
don't
to
want.
very little unless I think it's perhaps demeaning to me or my brand or my career.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have, and this is like controversial for like some people in my world, but I don't have rates.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because I think that would preclude me from some of the greatest opportunities of human being shit.
Yeah.
And if I was like, I'm not leaving the house if it's not 10K or more, that'd be great, but I wouldn't leave the house that much.
Yeah.
I would leave the house, but I would leave, but
Yeah,
like,
but you might take a gig where you make less, and then you might meet somebody there that gives you a deal. You know what I mean?
correct. Absolutely. And also like what I've come to realize is, and maybe this is because I understand the business side of it more, like not every brand can afford a high level rate at
Yeah.
every event. Like some of them can, but like most of them can't. So like if they have a tentpole event at a Cannes Lions or All-Star Weekend or Super Bowl, and you're renting out a museum and you're throwing this gala,
They got a bigger budget.
and you're spending millions of dollars on your party, pay me a lot of money because you're spending a lot of money.
Yeah.
But when you're doing something smaller scale and it's a cocktail party because two of your employees just did this and you could do this, well, I know you're not, you can't, if you're spending my rate on your party,
Right.
you can't find that again to pay me that rate. So let's just work it out and then know that like when you're going to do those other things, you're going to consider me for those. But let me come in, give you a great time, make relationships, have a good time. And what's the worst case that happens? Like absolutely nothing. And again, there are times where that comes back to bite me because sometimes people say, oh, we have X amount of money, and I'll go in and they spent like $3 billion on a party, not $3 billion, but you know what I mean? And I'm just like, bro, what do you rented out the what? And that's then I'm just like, all right, let's fuck you, like that's disrespectful and that's rude, but that's so rare. That's only that's only once every few years that happens. Like, I would rather just like, you can't, you gotta, what's the word? You dress for the job you want. Like, you can't, first of all, if you only took your girl to like fancy restaurants every night, that would get boring.
Right.
You got to go to like to the dive bars. You got to go to
mix
Sweet
it
Green.
up.
You got to go to the middle. Like you have to enjoy all the things, right? Like and so like for me, I love, and also I would even say like sometimes I'm doing events where I'm just creating like ambiance or whatever, and I'm not doing dancey party stuff. And then sometimes I'm doing the party stuff, and it's always funny because I always want the other one while I'm doing the other one. When I'm playing just for vibe, which I love doing, at certain points, if I do 3 or 4 of those in a row, I'm like, fuck, I just want people to like dance,
Right.
And then when I'll do 3 or 4 of those in a row, but I'm not playing music that I love all the time.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm like, oh my God, I just really wish I could play this obscure Stevie Wonder record right now, but I can't. So
do you have one specific like style DJing ambiance that's your favorite, whether that be like a club layout or like a rooftop?
Oh, you mean like from like a physical perspective?
Like a style, like what vibe is your favorite room to DJ? Is it a rooftop? Is it a big, huge club? Like, where do you get the most joy?
I mean, I get the most joy, honestly, when I'm just like playing music that's resonating with people, no matter what it is. And if it happens to be stuff that's like my musical DNA, even better. But my musical DNA has like the stuff that I grew up listening to, which was like the stuff that made me want to DJ, like 90s hip hop, early 2000s hip hop, Tribe Called Quest, Pharrell, Neptunes.
That's a crazy era.
Like it's all still popping today. You can still play it all today. Then you go back and take the stuff they sampled, so the Stevie Wonders and the James Browns and all that. All the new stuff, if you listen, even like all like the Soulection stuff and all K-Tronada, like all that stuff, it all is, that's the next generation of the stuff I grew up listening
Yeah.
to. So when I play that stuff, I love it because it's just the next generation of, you know, when I play house music, like I love it because it has such a derivative from like 90s house, which has such a derivative from 70s soul. So like as long as I'm playing, and then I can connect all those dots musically. So I actually don't have a perfect answer to your question because as long as like I'm connecting those like musical tissues, like it could happen at 2 a.m. on a dance floor, and it can happen at 7 p.m. at a cocktail party on a rooftop overlooking, you know, the water. So it's really, I guess what I'd say is I'm just grateful that I'm at a point where when I'm showing up at events, very rarely am I given musical direction. Like I
you get
pretty
to
much get to like, also I have enough hours to figure out exactly what it should be, but people trust me to bring me. And that's one of the greatest compliments that have ever happened in my career where, you know, people just like, do you, and they know it's going to be a good time.
All right. And then
I
that brings me
appreciate
to the next point on investing. When did you start getting into the investing world, and walk us through that process?
Great question. So like now I'm in, think of the career progression I've just shared, right?
Yep.
Now I'm in these rooms with venture capitalists. I'm in these rooms with startup founders, and I'm like, oh, this is really interesting. Like I'm not just in a room with like people trying to like party and dance and all that. I'm in a room
You're in
with
the room
all
where it happens.
So I'm just like meeting all these people and becoming friends with all these people. And then, you know, people see that I'm a creative person and people see that I have relationships. And that kind of just led to like, hey, do you want to be part of this? Do you want to be part of that? Sometimes it's yes, sometimes it's no, sometimes it's maybe. And that just led to like kind of getting involved in like the angel investing side, which led to more relationships with other VCs, which led to DJing lots of fucking VC parties and conferences, which leads to more other relationships. Then that led to advising startup things. And
The blend is so crazy.
It's nuts
right now. It's crazy. Like, I mean, like obviously what you're doing. I know the chain smokers just got into it, right? Don't they have a VC firm?
Yeah, I mean, that's 10,000 levels past where I'm at.
But I'm saying,
but maybe one day.
But
you know?
that's
the goal.
But like
what
the
they're doing is
VCs want to
so
hang out with
inspiring.
the DJs, and you know what I mean. And,
Oh
and it's
yeah,
going hand in hand.
I
And like
could
the cultures
call
are blending.
20 people on my phone right now that are billionaires. Like it's just I won't. But like because it's like because of that coalescence, right?
The culture.
And I mean those relationships. That's honestly how I met my wife through that world. That's how I met so many of my really good friends from that world. Because again, we're all lucky because the culture collided. Like everybody who's a VC listened to the same music I listen to. We all still want to get the same fucking shoes. We just go on StockX now and pay extra money when no one's waiting in line.
Right.
Like, you know, it's just the same thing, right? And so, and we all, it's awesome, dude. I would tell anybody who's in a creative field that where you're a one of one at your work, meaning if you're a chef, if you're an amazing photographer, if you're a artist, if you're a DJ, if you're like, and you're in these rooms where you could be the one of one, and everybody could have eyes on you because how specialized your skill is, you need to take so much fucking advantage of that because like in my real life, I'm not cool. In my house, I'm not cool. I'm not the most important person in my house. I'm not the most important person in my family. I'm not the most important person on my block. But when I'm DJing, even if I'm not the most important person in the room, I have a captive audience paying attention to me for that 90 minutes, 2 hours, 3 hours, 1 hour. While I have that audience, it's my job to take so much advantage of it, meet as many people as I can, shake as many hands as I can, befriend as many people as I can in an organic and holistic and like real way, like not in a predatory way ever, because that shit will fail you completely. Because when I leave, I'm just another dude taking the train home. Yeah. When I leave an event, I'm just another guy flying home. I'm just one of like, but for those 90 minutes or 2 hours, if I'm not the most important person in the room, which is fine, I'm definitely one of them just because I'm providing joy and I'm creating value. So like, and I'm an introvert. That's another thing that's like a really interesting part of my story. I'm super fucking introverted. I don't want to talk to a lot of people. You know, I'm really good at like emailing people and texting, but like I can't walk into a room and make friends. I have no idea how to fucking do that.
Have you used music to be your
1000%? You know when the best rooms happen for me? Like when I finish DJing, I'll go make a couple laps around the room.
Because you're the most comfortable?
Because I just got off stage and everyone just had saw me. So like people will come up and be like, hey, I like that song. Or, oh, hey, are you from like, if somebody can make that first, and this is the one skill I try to instill in my kid. Talk to fucking strangers. Do these, I mean, not that sounds really fucked up. Hey kid, talk to strangers.
No, but yeah,
but,
I know what you're
within
saying. But
reason,
literally,
because
get
like
out
that's
there.
like, and it's the one thing that happened in my career that I don't like because I'd been DJing since such a young age.
Yeah.
First of all, because I was like a nerd in high school, like I didn't have that ability to do that. I was really dorky. But like in high school, in college, I'd always been the guy who was providing like joy. So even though I was introverted, I never had to learn that skill of walking into a party and owning that party. I always got that by default because I was always playing music. So I was never able to like, now when I'm not doing that and I walk in somewhere, I'm very strange and I'm very awkward and I'm very weird because I never had to learn that skill. And I'm better at it now, obviously, than when I was like 25 or 18. But still, like I watch some people like walk into a room and they just own it. And not in a corny way, but not like in like some biz conference way, but like, just like in a holistic, some people just have that gift. My son actually has that gift. I don't have that gift. And it's cool. And I wish I did. And my career probably be even further if I did, but it is what it is. But like, I was always on the other side of that. So that's, I think, but now that I know that that's my limitation, like how do I fix that? And for me, it's just like making sure I take advantage of the moment that I have. Because I'm so fortunate to have that moment.
Yeah, when something that I was talking to somebody the other day about is like whenever you have a chance to kind of like go introduce yourself, when you're at an event or you're doing something and you wish like you leave the event, and you're like, damn, I should have said hi to this producer or I should have said hi to this person and introduced myself. And you leave the event, you're kicking yourself because you didn't say hi or introduce yourself.
And even if you get a chance to do it again, it's never going to have that impact as it did at
right.
the exact moment.
But I think that goes hand in hand with anything in life, like whether it's talking to a girl at a bar or like going to introduce yourself to the VC or whoever. Like the ability to just step out of your comfort zone and just make that introduction and just be like, hey, I'm George or whatever. I think that's something that's a lot harder than people think.
It is for most of us,
but I think that once you do it, the more you practice it, it's like a muscle you could just get better at. And I think that when I was growing up in like high school, middle school, whatever, I just felt like I strengthened the muscle to just get rejected. Cause like I was just like super out of shape and like I would ask girls out and like they would just say no or whatever. And I just felt
thousands of those experiences.
The worst thing that can happen is like you just keep it pushing. And I think that that's just something I just riffed on. But going back to the point of just putting yourself out there.
I asked my wife out and she said no. She was like, no. She's like, it's not the right time.
Well, look at you guys are.
And a year later, apparently it was the right time. But like, but sometimes rejection works out.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's not no, it's not right now.
Yeah, exactly. Awesome. And then in terms of like working with, I saw you've done some stuff with your son. So I want to hear about that and like how you've been able to like educate your son on what you're doing and kind of incorporate him.
He's just such a creative dude, and he's such a nice person. First and foremost, he's like the kindest soul. He's gonna get stepped all over in life because he's so nice. I like toughen him up a little, We actually just like switched his school because I don't want him to know what it's like to be like the new kid.
Yeah,
because he's like cute and he's fashionable and like all these things, but like what, you got to know what it's like to like, just be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And so like but then he ended up crushing that. So it worked out. It worked. So I'm really glad. I'm just proud of him for that. The greatest dream is to be able to just involve your family in what you do. And my parents and my grandparents did that at a very early age for me. And you as well, right?
Yeah.
Like I remember riding in my dad's van to watch him put in carpet and tile. And I remember my grandpa gave me my first job. I worked in his drugstore from 7th grade until the day I went to college. There wasn't a thing I did aside from put the pills in the little orange things, because that would have been illegal.
Yeah.
But I sold lottery tickets. I sold tobacco. I'm sure all that was illegal too. But it was Ohio. Nobody gave a fuck.
Yeah.
Those moments of working with my family and seeing what my family did for good or for bad, it changed everything for me. And so I've always been the type of person, like since my son was born, if I could have you stop by an event, I can't do that for everything, obviously,
right.
But like if it's an early thing or I'm like, yeah, my wife and kid are going to come through or whatever. Be like, okay, cool. Whatever. We'll have a Shirley Temple waiting at the bar. I want him to see that stuff. And then he gets comfortable in those worlds. And then people started saying, hey, can you guys do this Instagram campaign for us, or can you do this, or can you do that? He was in a Under Armour commercial for a Steph Curry shoe a couple years ago because people just were like, whoa, we're looking for a kid in Brooklyn who likes basketball. And I'm like, I know
got
a
a
kid.
guy.
You know, I got a guy.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, he'll have that memory like forever, right? And so it's great, and I don't see that ever stopping. You know, and the same thing has happened with my wife and I. So here's the funny story: she rejected me on our when I asked, and I said, "Well, can I get your LinkedIn?"
Yeah.
And she was like, "Oh, that's a weird fucking one. Not like my Instagram or
Yeah,
like
yeah.
not my
Can I get
number."
your LinkedIn? Yeah, there you go. You
Because
take-
you know, had to like, I got to vet people's credentials these
Yeah.
days, right? And you know, a year later, she didn't slide into the LinkedIn DM. She slid into the Instagram DMs. But we did connect on LinkedIn.
Yep.
The world's funny though. Post pandemic, we were in a national
Oh, so
TV
you guys didn't
commercial.
meet till a year later.
Yeah, we didn't get the date for. I didn't get the date for a year later. Well worth waiting for.
Yeah.
I would have waited a lot longer, but I'm glad I didn't have to wait too much longer.
Yeah.
But we got cast in a LinkedIn commercial
Okay.
as a power couple, quote unquote, and like with all these other like people, you know. And they reached out and they were like, hey, we need a couple that like works together. Like, and I was just like, yo, that's so crazy how the universe works, because like all I ever wanted was to be in a relationship like the one I'm in with her. All I ever wanted was to have like this family work balance that we have, and everybody helps each other and everyone like rises the tides and all
Yeah.
that. But for us to have that proof, like, you know, like, I mean,
Yeah.
again, it's cool to be in a commercial, whatever. It's cool to get paid for it. That's also cool. But just the validation, just the irony
Yeah, it's
that
crazy.
like we like not only like I was like, wow, this really is real. It's so real that they actually put us in a commercial to show other people that it's real so that other people could do it.
Yeah.
No, you know,
Yeah, no, I think the whole
just-
working with your family thing is such an awesome dynamic, and it's pretty rare.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I work in a family business, you grew up in a family business, and now you work with your family. And I think that having that,
I never really thought
ecosystem-
about it until you said it, but I wonder how much of watching my dad a lot as a kid and definitely working for my grandpa, I wonder how much that inspires. Like, I don't make decisions without talking to her about it. I don't
Yeah.
like, you know,
Yeah.
I rarely make, I just think that, I wonder, I never really thought about it to that level, but I bet you that so subconsciously inspired
Oh
me.
yeah, I mean, I think my parents are like the same way. They're like inseparable, and I think that like they obviously, I attribute like my mom and dad are a team, and everything they do like it's all that teamwork approach. Whether it's like raising the 6 of us kids or any business decision or whatever, I've always admired that like team dynamic, and I think that like you can't beat that in any. You know what I mean?
No,
So having that's definitely been a blessing for sure. So I think it's dope what you guys have.
thank you. I'm very lucky.
Is your son DJing yet? Have you taught him how to
Yeah,
DJ?
he's learning a little. He's learning some stuff. He could do a couple things. He could freestyle pretty decently,
Yep.
which is fun. I didn't know where he learned that. He's kind of the kid that like on Halloween I'll DJ in front of the house and he'll get the mic and just start rapping in front
Hell
of the
yeah.
neighborhood.
Do you do any do you do a lot of like DJing work with artists, and like and how does that work?
Not anymore.
But what is that hard to? Is that a hard thing?
When you
to-
say DJ for artists, you mean like in
like
which
if you're
way?
up there DJing and there's a rapper rapping, like what does that look like? And
Oh.
do you still do any of that?
Nah, not unless it's my kid. But I started like that. Like I was in a rap group in college. I was
Really?
the DJ for a rap. I wasn't the rapping.
Yeah.
Nobody would ever want to hear me rap.
Right.
But I was the DJ for many groups. And
Yeah.
then when I went through like a mixtape phase for 10 years in the 2000s, you know, I did mixtapes for, oh my God, I did mixtapes with like so many rappers, Busta Rhymes,
Really?
Big Sean's first or second mixtape. Like I did so many projects for artists, iconic artists. I was so lucky. I mean, I was lucky to be a part of them, but I was part of them. And so like I have extensive experience working with, you know, artists in that capacity. And I'm so grateful for that experience. It's not the path I want to do now,
Right.
but it was, I mean, it's incredible.
Do you have any stories from any of these artists being in the studio that were just memorable moments to for your career when you were like, we were working on this then, and now all of a sudden they're this person, you know what I mean? They're this household name. Do you have any of those?
Probably if I
Like a big like where you work? Did you say you were working? Big
Yeah,
Sean?
I did his first or second mixtape. I don't remember which one it was.
I love Big
and,
Sean.
and he's incredible. He's such a First of all, he's very slept on as
Yo, he is
as a
slept
person
on.
with bars. Like he every couple of years he can make a hit. But like as a rapper, like I come from like that cloth of
Yeah.
like what are you really saying? How are you saying it?
Yeah.
What words are you using to say it? And how are you stylistically putting it together?
Mm-hmm.
If you can't do those four, like I'm not gonna really like fuck with it personally.
Yeah.
Like I'll play it.
Yeah.
And my son will love it, but like me, it has to hit those. Like you
Right.
have to have like a high level of artistry.
Yeah.
And to my personal detriment, probably.
Yeah.
I'd probably enjoy a lot more things if I didn't hold people to that standard, but it is what it is. But like, he's one of those people who could do that, and people don't look at him always like that.
Yeah.
And every few years he'll put out like some freestyle or something where it's just like people are like, oh shit, he's that type of dude. I don't know him. I probably met him 2 or 3 times in my entire life, but like, I just remember putting that out to him. Someone was like, oh, can you, I was doing so many mixtapes at that time. Someone was like, can you host this one? I was like, yeah. And they sent me like, like the files or whatever. This is like probably like LimeWire, or whatever, or MySpace. And this funny, you never know. But also for every person I did that, and then they became like, he didn't blow up because of me. I'm lucky that I was part of that. But I did do it. Yeah. But for every person who like that who came in, that's why I say you also never say no, because like, there were 99 other people I did that for that went nowhere. Yeah. So like it becomes a situation where like you think you're doing a favor for somebody, but ultimately that in favor ends up doing more for you. It's really cool to tell that story.
Yeah, totally.
It's cool. Like I love it. It's not going to gain me money. It's not going to gain me anything else. But just as a person who loves the art and loves the culture so much, like just the fact that like I came from the middle of Ohio, this was a hobby, this was a dream. I get to like, all the people that was inspired by growing up to maybe want to do this, I've pretty much met them. I've perhaps done an event with a lot of them. A lot of them will know my name. Mm-hmm. Some of them I have their number. Mm-hmm. Like some of them remember me when they see me. Some of them don't. Right. But it doesn't matter. Like, just like that's so much further than I should have ever gotten.
Yeah.
When I think about who I was at 16, sitting in my room, like listening to what I was listening to, and then where it went from there, like it's fucking mind blowing.
It's crazy how much music plays in everybody's life, no matter what they do, in the culture of all things. Because it's funny, I interviewed a DJ from Boston. He does Kiss 108.
Who's that?
Mikey V.
Okay.
He does like the radio show with his brother.
Okay.
We were just kind of talking back and forth about like the media thing, and he was like, dude, the media thing has given him so many opportunities and so many different things, and everybody relates to it.
Is he like more of a personality DJ? He's not like a DJ.
He DJs the clubs in Boston, and I'm sure he does a ton of other gigs, but he DJs on the radio and like does like the call-in and everything.
Okay. Well, think about that, because like think about all the stuff we watch now from radio people, right? Think about like the Breakfast Club. Yeah. Like I see those clips of Charlamagne and all these people every day on my phone. I've never fucking woken up and put on my radio and turned it to 105, 101 or whatever it is and like listen to it. Like I don't even know how to hit the FM button in my car. Yeah. But I know every amazing thing that happens, because if you are that sort of personality now, like you could just, people think of you as a social personality first and foremost. Radio's afterthought. Yeah. They're making more money off the video shit than radio. They only doing the radio. The radio's like the loss leader. Yeah. To get you in the door so they can monetize everything else. Yeah.
And then on the personal brand, how important is it? I know we talked about personal brand earlier, but I just want to go back to like, how important is it if you're in the DJing space to be building that online persona and brand around yourself in today's day and age? Like if you
it's everything.
Yeah.
It's 200% important. It's more important than your music. It's more important than everything but your integrity. Mm-hmm. Because if you don't have that, then it doesn't matter what you build. The shit's going to completely fall at some point, some later than others. But
so would you advise somebody to spend more time building that portfolio of like credit, like making sure that they're documenting and sharing it in a way that makes sense? Because I'm sure if
I think so, but you can't also like, you have to still not. You still have to, I just really believe you need to love what you do. Yeah. Don't get into this DJing shit if you don't love it. Yeah. My thought. But if you do love it, that's going to take care of itself. Mm-hmm. You need, the other stuff is way more important, because the odds of you getting discovered because you love it, it can happen and it does happen. But if you love it and you have the other shit on top, that's where the real magic happens.
Well, that was what I've been saying. I was telling Chris earlier about the clips. Like I've been really trying to maximize like the clips on social media. And I, like a couple guests ago, I had the CEO of ZoomInfo, and I posted a clip, he shared it, and then his buddy commented on the clip, and his buddy also has a publicly traded company that is a massive company. So he commented on his buddy's clip, and then I messaged him, and he's down to come on the pod. But that's like amazing. I wouldn't have gotten him on the pod if he didn't comment. I haven't had him yet. But like, and then the ZoomInfo guy, Henry, I wouldn't have had him on the pod if I didn't DM him on LinkedIn. But it's like a web of like you can get to so many people.
Well, I watched some of that, and he had an interesting story about like they did a rebrand, right, of the company. They had like a really stupid name, and then they rebranded it to a name that became like their lifetime name. And that's the other thing I would share that we didn't talk about before we finish is that my DJ name when I started was DJ Mick Boogie. Mm-hmm. Awesome name in 1998 for college radio. Perfect name, the best underground hip hop name you could ever have. As my career evolved and evolved and evolved, that name became a really pigeonholing situation for me. Mm-hmm. And so I thought about this when I watched your the Zoom info guy, because it's like I was like, wow, now I'm at the point where my name is cannibalizing opportunities for me, because like it just sounds like a name of exactly what it was supposed to be. It was an awesome name to do a college radio show playing underground hip hop records. Fantastic. Not a great name if you're trying to get Fortune 500 brands to like book you. Not a great name if you're trying to get, do other things outside of the realm of DJing. And then, 15 years later, when my son was born, I was just like, I'd actually gotten feedback from brands like, your name, like, what is this? Like, and I started doing more things like this, like more interviews and more podcasts and panels and thought leadery things. And I was on a stage one day. I don't remember what the panel was for. And it was all these people with like their real names or whatever. And then they were just like, John Smith and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then, and DJ Mick Boogie, and everybody laughed because like they didn't know who I was. And also like, it just sounded like really stupid next. If you weren't like, oh, I had his mixtapes in college, it's dope. Like, that's great. They'd be like, oh, like, but that wasn't happening.
Right.
And I was like, ooh, and I walked off that stage. I was like, I got it. What do I do?
Yeah. Rebranding.
And my last name is I love my last name, but it's a challenging last name. Is Batyske.
Yeah.
And I couldn't DJ under my full name because nobody would be able to spell it or pronounce it.
Yeah.
And then I started thinking, should I take like a pseudonym for a last name? And then I realized like, I'm gonna just do two things. I'm gonna remove the boogie part, and I'm gonna just treat. Thankfully, my name is a very unique name in a sense. There's not a lot of mix in the world, so I treat it one word, all caps. Treat it like a brand, so it enables me to move into other spaces. Remove the word DJ, and when I took that off, more opportunities started happening outside of DJing. When I freshened up the branding and removed,
because it can align with so many different.
I didn't want DJ in front of it, because if I'm doing this stuff, if I'm doing investing stuff, if I'm doing whatever, like I want to write. I have all these things I want to do. Like I want to just be like, a multifaceted creative, which I'd always been, but now it was cool to be it, and I didn't want that to be like limited to like one thing. And DJ is unfortunately like a title where it's very literal. It's not like If you say DJ something, that's you just know that person's a DJ, right? If you're like, even if you're a doctor, you don't have to necessarily be a medical doctor. You could be a philosophy, right? You at least have some range, or like. But with DJing, it was just like, this is what it is. And so I did this at the one of the peaks of my career, which was very bold.
How long ago was this?
It was like 10, 15 years ago. It wasn't like early on.
Yeah,
I was definitely like fully grown into this shit. But I was just like, I have to switch something up if I want this to continue to grow. And a lot of people are like, I can't believe you're going to change your name
this far in.
Yeah. And I'm like, it's not a change. It's like when Target changed their font.
Right.
Or like, it's just like evolving, And then, what really came out of that I didn't expect was I was able to essentially position myself to a whole new clientele as a new artist. In a sense, not new as like that I just started, but new as like they'd never heard of me. Yet when they did look me up, I was able to cherry pick the best from my bio.
Right.
So I left out all the mixtapes I did with local rappers back in Cleveland in 2002, and I left out all these things, and I took like the best of it though, like kept the big names, kept the big clients, and they're like, wait, so I'm sorry, I'm really having struggles.
No
with this.
worries.
Who is this person that I've never heard of? But their bio is like, what the fuck? It worked out so much in my favor. And I think that's because what's the expression, like favors the bold or whatever.
Yeah.
Like I was like, I have to do this because
fortune favors the bold.
Fortune favors the bold.
Yeah.
And favor favors the bold is a weird statement. But like, thank you for correcting me. But you know what I mean? Like it's just like that, it just worked out so well.
Yeah, and it allows you to just go into so many different lanes.
And I tell people now, that's the other, you asked me the really like, it's kind of a niche question, but like what advice would you give to a young DJ or a young creative of any sort? It's how you don't want to have to do a rebrand at the middle of your fucking career.
Right.
I got lucky.
Right.
Mine worked out. I've seen a lot of people try to do it and it completely failed. And I've seen DJs who are significantly amazing DJs have these names that are just like, what the, and then they'll try to pivot and it doesn't work.
Yeah.
And then they have to go back to their previous name, which
And
is
it's a mess.
finite and limiting. And sometimes people think like, and it's not DJs. This is musicians, guitarists, could be anybody. Like you have a name like DJ Murderer.
Yeah, you don't want to. Yeah,
because you used to
Snapchat's not going to pick that up.
You murdered those
for a gig.
turntables when you were in a battle. Like,
Yeah, like-
you did murder those turntables, but unfortunately, that word is now murdering your bank account.
Unfortunately, we're not going to be hiring the DJ Murder for the Snapchat.
Right, but like
gala.
unless the only time that does happen is like if you're like a one of one, like if you're a generational talent, it doesn't matter. But for the rest of us, for the other 99% of us, like that's not going to happen. And so like you got to think about these things.
Definitely. And then to wrap it up, I always want to wrap it up with a question. And my last question for you is, what does success look like to you? What does success mean to you today?
Success for me today is consistently busy, new creative opportunities that kind of come in from multi-faceted streams, and doing it all with my family and having my family like uber present in everything.
Hell yeah.
And if those can all happen at the same time, I'm the happiest dude in the world.
That's a win. Mick, I appreciate you coming on. Where can everybody find you?
My website, mick.co. My Instagram's @Mick. Pretty easy.
Awesome. Guys, thank you. Mick, I appreciate it. That was awesome.
Of course. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.